handful of teams hit the road for weekend road trips. Rosters start to settle, and the class of the league begins to separate. All that and more hits now on the Junior Beast Pod on Crowlax TV.
That's Klucha, and he goes short side low.
The Rebels are right back in it. All alone, he's stopped by Luke West. And Kerr,
what?
7 seconds is all it took for Kerr.
Quick shot scores. Jacob Goudreau.
Takes a shot and buries that.
It was a big weekend in the RMLL Junior B Tier 1 division. Games beginning on Thursday night and rolling on through Sunday. And now I want to bring in my co-host of the Junior Beast Pod, Keenen. How are you, my friend?
You know, I'm doing good. Had a good week off there, and glad to be back hosting the Junior Beast.
That's awesome to hear, my friend. And so with that, let's roll through some of these scores that took place.
Well, last week, starting on Thursday the 23rd, Mountaineers knocking the Marauders off 7-4. Single game on that Thursday. Another single game on Friday the 24th. Rampage taking a 12-8 victory over the Kings. Big day, 6 games on the 25th. Had the Blizz taking out the Silvertips 7-5, a rare loss for the Silvertips. Warriors take out the Mountaineers 11-10 in overtime. Shamrocks over the Mavericks 18-7. Kings over the Crude 16-12. Silvertips over the Blizzard 11-10. And Rebels take out the Rockies 23-6. And then cruising into Sunday, another 6-game slate. Kings take out the Outlaws 10-8. Silvertips 12 over the Blizzard 8. Crude 13, Mountaineers 11. Shamrocks over the Chill 10-9. Marauders over the Rebels 10-3. And Warriors another 11-10 victory. This one did not need overtime over the Rampage.
Yeah, and so there was plenty. I mean, there's plenty to talk about here, a lot of storylines, and I want to begin in what was a pretty hectic weekend in the North. If you look at it, almost every team aside from the Outlaws played a double dip. And the Crude were able to, after taking a tough loss on Saturday night against the Kings in a game that I didn't really see too much of, and when I watched some of it back, my only real takeaway in that game was that goaltending kind of struggled. Now it was a high-scoring game. Hope people hammered the over there in St. Albert on Saturday night. Lots of guys with big games offensively. But then on Sunday, they were able to turn around and playing in the unfamiliar confines of Performance Arena, Service Place, they got a much-needed win and really maybe saved their season over the Mountaineers 13-11. Bodchuk puts up 4 goals and 4 assists on the Mountaineers side. Dame, Hilkowicz, and it looks like those were the 2 big-time performers on the stat sheet anyway for the Mountaineers. And what was another high-scoring game that the Crude were involved in. This time they were able to hold on. I know I tuned into this game. It was about, I think, 11-6 with about 8 minutes to go. And the Mountaineers, to their credit, after having suffering a tough loss the day before, made it close. But in the end, the Crude were able to hold on for the victory. And now that's going to set them up here. I think 4 of their next 5 games are against the Rebels. So if you look at that North Division, and I'll get to the Warriors and Rebels and Outlaws here in a second, but if you look at that North Division, it's going to be really tight for that last playoff spot. I mean, really, those last 2 playoff spots. I think the Warriors are going to have enough to win the division. And then it comes down to, you know, who can, because those teams play each other a lot down the stretch as well, as I just touched on. And you got the Outlaws right in the mix as well. So I think it's going to be a dogfight to try and avoid being the odd one out in the North. And you also, I mean, now I just mentioned the Rebels, so let's flip our attention over to them. They go down south and absolutely obliterate the Rockies, who obviously, you know, we talked about before. They're going through their struggles, so no surprise there. But then, they turn around and play in Okotoks on Sunday afternoon and lose. Looked like they got smothered. I didn't see. I mean, I have no way of seeing any of that game, but looks like they got shut down and smothered. They lose that one 10-3. So they split their weekend road trip. The Outlaws fall to the Kings 10-8. Carter Grace with another big game, 2 goals, 2 assists. So the Outlaws, another close game for them that they're on the wrong side of. And the Kings, after suffering a Friday night loss in Red Deer, 12-8, were able to bounce back with a pair of wins up north. Now, finally, in the north, the Warriors, with a pair of 11-10 home wins, and I did these games, so I saw these. I can comment on these games pretty intently. The first game, I don't know. I expected a lot more from the Mountaineers, quite frankly. I thought, maybe in the first period they had some bus legs, but it didn't really get a whole lot better throughout the game. They did come back. The Warriors were playing with like 15 guys, though, 3 affiliates. They had like Kyler Andrews was playing out the front gate and scored. That credit to him. It was a nice goal too. He cut inside over top of his defender and shot the ball top corner. Blake Cameron had a big game, another defender out the front gate. So the Warriors, with guys playing all over the place, guys not used to playing in certain areas of the floor, were able to win that game in overtime on a 2-on-1. Regan Carey scoring the overtime winner. I think it was a game that the Mountaineers wouldn't be happy with overall. And, the Warriors, to their credit, shorthanded, find a way to win. And then the next day or the next night, they take on the Rampage. And Keenen, this truly was the best game that I think it's the best game I've seen all year in the Junior B division. 2 teams that played fast paced and went back and forth. And to Red Deer's credit, the first half of the game, or actually the first 2 periods of this game, Bialik was unbelievable. Like, he was making tons of big time saves, 2-on-1s, breakaways, guys right on top of his net. And he really, I think, to most people's surprise, was the reason they won this game. I thought Wells struggled in this one. I think he'd probably be the first to admit that. And as much as we pump up his tires, we've got to be able to recognize when he doesn't have his best, and he did not have his best here. Huge game by Josh Dewart, 4 goals. Luke Royer with the overtime winner, doing what he does best, cutting off ball to the net, and Dewart found him, and I believe he went short side, if my memory serves me correctly. The Warriors pull that one out in overtime. So that's a pair of back-to-back wins for the Warriors in tight contests. I want to talk about Red Deer for a second. Keenen, I was really impressed here with the product that they came with. I really like their left side. Tisdale, Couchman, and Antonishin look really good. They balance the floor pretty well. They got Dowswell on the right side. He's shifty. I think that's a team, even though they're 3-4 now. That's a team that I think people should watch out for moving forward. It was a really good game. I don't know if you caught any of that one, but just before we move on from the North Division, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I just want to touch on you mentioning the Rampage there. I think you're absolutely correct, and I think their 3-4 record definitely doesn't quite show what this team is capable of in the slightest. The Rampage this season, to me, are proving they belonged in the Larry Bishop last year. That team, finished 3rd, went into the playoffs, and somehow knocked out the number 1 overall ranked Silvertips in, I think it was a 2-game sweep for them, if my memory serves me correctly. But I think the Rampage are better than what they're showing on paper, and quite frankly, you look at their goal differential as well of -4, and it just shows that they're a stronger team than what they're putting up right now. But yeah, very solid all around in the North. I was able to catch some of that Kings Outlaws game. I had the call there. Well, I guess I caught more than just some of it. It was definitely a good job, I think, by the Outlaws playing in, again, they were also in unfamiliar territory that day. They were playing in the Ardrossan Recreation Center. Beautiful barn out there. The Kings just found a way, and that game was so back and forth. It was absolutely unbelievable. Great lacrosse played there too. Um, I think the Kings did a very good job this weekend coming in, and I mean, yeah, sure they lost to the Rampage, but you still got 2 of 3 last weekend. So kudos to the Kings. And yeah, the Rampage much better than what they look like on paper.
Yeah, I mean record wise, I mean you got to remember too they're playing in that Central Division. Off the top of my head, they have losses I think to the Silver Tips, the Warriors now. I think they lost one to the Mavericks, and I can't think off the top of my head who the other loss is to, but they have played a pretty tough schedule, and I'd expect them to finish well over 500 when all is said and done. The question is going to be, who that odd team out or who that odd team in that division is going to be left out of the picture come playoff time. Now let's turn our attention to that Central Division, and we'll talk about the Silver Tips here, who take 2 of 3 in Winnipeg. Never an easy task. You got that long, long bus ride, and you end up playing 2 games, whether it's Saturday or Sunday. Most teams end up playing 2 games in one day, and something that the Eastern teams are used to and teams in other divisions aren't. And the Silvertips do suffer their first loss in the middle game, 11-10, but they take the other 2 by the scores of 7-5 and 12-8. And I think another guy that goes under the radar here is goaltender McDonough for the Silvertips. This guy is huge from the footage that I've seen. I don't know if I've actually seen him play live, but anytime I've turned on a Silvertip game, I've just seen this monstrous presence in their net. And, he's very economical in his movement. He doesn't overcommit, and he makes it tougher on shooters. He doesn't, make movement or move away from net that he doesn't have to. And so I think he's a kid that deserves a lot of credit. I see in the 12-8 game, Jared Norris with 6 goals and 2 assists. That's the other part of or piece of this Silvertips team that's so impressive. It just seems like, every game somebody else pops off, and not just pops off, but absolutely goes crazy. I mean, 6 goals. This league it presents guys that you've never even heard of sometimes that just have these massive games. And speaking of that, I should touch on that the Crude had Tyson Smith over the weekend playing offense. He gets a pair of goals against the Mountaineers. That's another example of guys going off that maybe you wouldn't expect. The Silvertips take 2 of 3 here over the Blizzard. And the Blizzard, I think, they're a team that lost a lot of key pieces in Kluchak and Delarond and guys like that. But they look like they're not really missing a beat. They've been in almost every game that they've played in. So I'll toss it over to you here, Keenan. Any thoughts on this mini series that took place over the weekend in Winnipeg?
I think the Silvertips showed quite a bit. Like you said, they suffered their first loss of the season out there. But like you said, when you're going into this long bus ride, 12 plus hours, I think it is, from Airdrie, I don't think if I was a player, I would expect to win all 3, but I would be very happy with a 2 of 3. And sure, you go into the weekend undefeated, you come out now not undefeated, but Silvertips have nothing to be ashamed of with that. I mean, the single loss was, I believe, just trying to find it here. Yeah, it was the 11-10. Yeah, the middle game, the 11-10 loss. So you're only losing by a single goal. You could have had all 3. So, I mean, kudos to the Silvertips there. Just absolutely destroying in Winnipeg, even though they only do end up winning 2/3 of their games.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you hit the road, I think for three games in such a short amount of time, that's your focus. Take 2 out of 3. A lot of the time, I think sweeping is a little bit optimistic. And I think it doesn't even really so much matter who you're playing as long as they're half decent. It's going to be tough to take all three. And but I think the Silvertips accomplished what they needed to do, and I think they firmly hold their place up near the top of the league. So I don't know if we really need to go much deeper in the East. I mean, we just talked about the Blizzard series over the weekend. We've talked quite a bit about the Kings over the last few weeks here. So we just discussed them having played in the North. So I think we should finish up our division talk here by going down south, where I think the Marauders deserve some credit for getting a much needed home win after they dropped their Thursday night game to the Mountaineers by a score of 7-4. They turn around and they're able to beat the Rebels, a decent opponent, and a game that gets them back to 500. So the Marauders are a team that I think is sort of in limbo right now. They're sort of beating the teams, and I know I've talked about this last week. They're sort of beating the teams that they're supposed to beat, and they're struggling against some of the better teams. So I think they're a team that really can go in any direction right now. I don't know if you've seen anything from them, Keenan, or if there's anything that you have found that has stood out about them. Maybe even just looking at box scores or talking to whoever. Anything you might want to add about the Marauders?
I can't speak much on the Marauders. I haven't seen much of them play this year. I don't think they've visited the North yet at all. I think that's a little later on this season. But I mean, like, you look at the box scores, and these games it's not like they're tight, but it's not like they're blowouts either. And I think, because at this point, I think we kind of know the Shamrocks just absolutely dominating the South. I mean, undefeated, 8-0-0. First round matchup is absolutely going to be the Marauders and the Mounties. And these are two teams that are operating at almost exactly 500. Mounties are operating, I believe, 3-5, whereas Marauders are 4-4. That's going to be a back and forth series, and that one's definitely going to go to 3. But yeah, I think the Marauders, kudos to them for knocking out the Rebels, especially with the Rebels coming fresh off that 23-6 victory.
Yeah, so I mean, the Marauders get hat tricks from two separate players in that one. Drew Dunbar, 3 goals, and Jet Taylor, pretty cool name there, 3 goals as well. I should mention that Cole Morris was a big time scorer for them. Looks like he's made the Raiders. I noticed that about a week ago looking at rosters. So obviously that's not helpful for the Marauders, but it looks like they got some other guys stepping up for them, and they're one of the more under the radar interesting teams to me. I really want to, it's too bad that they don't play up here more often. You don't really get to see them for whatever reason. It seems like they never come up here, but I think they're a team that is an interesting watch moving forward, just because I really don't know what to expect. I think their season could go either way at this moment. Now, lastly, in the South, the Shamrocks take on the Chill and what looked like it was a barn burner in Brentwood late Sunday afternoon. They take it 10-9 over the Chill. And I know I've talked about the Chill quite a bit lately. They just continue to look dangerous, and I know they're not getting the results right now, but they're another team that's played a tough schedule and just playing in the division they're playing in now, having played the Shamrocks, they've played the Warriors, and they just fall a little bit short. But I'd be shocked if they're the one team that misses the playoffs in that division. I still think they get in. They play the Shamrocks tough, but the Shamrocks go to 8-0 with the 10-9 victory on the road. And if you look at the box score, I mean, generally the Shamrocks like their distribution in their scorers is pretty strong. And you see it here again. I mean, Seth Miller gets 2 goals, 2 assists. Zane Fletcher, 2 goals, 2 assists. Hudson Isaacs, 2 goals, 1 assist. Ben McLean, 1 goal, 1 assist. And that's when the Shamrocks are at their best, when it's, they're getting a bunch of different contributions, production wise at least, in their lineup, and you flip it over to the Chill, and you had a lot of balance in their lineup. Two Cash Bannister continues to rip it up, 2 goals, 4 assists there. Cameron Wallace, goal and 2 assists. Shukat, 1 goal, 2 assists. So, I mean, this was a game that was pretty tight throughout. And the Shamrocks do what they do. They end up pulling it out late. And it also looks like the Shamrocks had like 5 power play goals in this one. So it looks like special teams came through for them, while the Chill did not have a single power play goal. And the Chill spent, oh my goodness. I'm just looking at this right now, Keenan.
The Chill spent a lot of time in the box that game.
Yeah, had you seen this before?
I honestly have not seen it. I've seen games crazy like this, but not in a very long time, especially with a few unsportsmanlikes, a few misconducts, an abusive official misconduct. So
Yeah, I don't
it's
know
been a
what was
while since
going
I've
on.
seen that.
I remember I'd seen the abuse of the official in the box score when I originally opened this up like a number of days ago. And I wondered what that could have been. There's a match penalty, abuse of an official. This is like 78-8, Keenan. And for the Chill to lose 10-9 after all of that, yeah,
That's impressive on the Chill, quite
yeah.
frankly. Killing all
Granted,
that.
about 40 of these minutes are misconducts, but still, like, yeah, that's quite something. I wish I had been at this game and was able to comment on what was going on, but it's too bad these two teams only play once in the regular season, and they won't play because they're in different divisions. They won't play unless both attend the Larry Bishop. So maybe something to watch for moving forward. I mean, obviously these kids all grew up in Calgary, or for the most part did, so they would know each other pretty well. Probably some bad blood there, playing against each other all their minor careers. So we'll see. That maybe that's a big time showdown. Maybe waiting to happen if both teams are able to get to the Larry Bishop, but that's well down the road. But for now, yeah, the Shamrocks improved to 8-0, and the Chill dropped 2-5. So Keenan, as we wrap the division talk up here, any last words or any parting thoughts here on any division or any in particular team that you want to talk about?
I don't think I have anything else to add in division talk. However, as we are starting to come to a close here, I do want to introduce a new segment into Junior Beast. Not the Junior Beast, the Crowlax TV Performers of the Week, selecting 3 players who were outstanding this week. Honorable mention for this week, Outlaws Carter Grace with 2 goals, 2 assists in that 10-8 loss to the Kings. Performers of the Week, Crude's Josh Fawchuk with 4 goals, 4 assists in the 13-11 win over the Mounties. The Rebels' Jackson Kohut, 2 goals and 4 assists in the 23-6 win over the Rockies. And to the Kings, Ryan McDonald with 4 goals and 3 assists in the 16-12 win over the Crude. Those are your Crowlax TV Performers of the Week.
So another segment that we want to introduce here, and we really want to have engagement and people interacting and getting involved. So, I mean, I was thinking about this a lot over the past week or so, and I want to introduce a game pick segment. And for this, there's going to be 5 games every week that we've pre-selected. And all you got to do is send me either at m.joma on Instagram or mj_9 on X.
You can also
reach
leave
out
it
to
in the
Keenen.
comments down below, too.
Yeah, you can leave it in the comments down below on the Junior Beast. And you can also get in touch with Keenan on his social media platforms. But what we want is all you got to do is pick straight up. There's no spread, nothing like that. All you got to do is pick the winner of each of the 5 games. The only caveat is that you need to star your most confident pick, and that'll be worth double. So there'll be a total of 6 points associated that you can max out at. And the winner, I mean, we're going to try and provide prizes. That's in the works. And we'll either do it weekly or at the end of the year. But for now, all you got to worry about is making these 5 picks and starring the one that you have the most confidence in, and you'll be graded out of 6 each week. So these games are Friday, May 31st, the Rebels travel to the Crude. Also, Friday, May 31st, Mountaineers go to Brentwood to take on the Calgary Chill. And another Friday night game. It's a good Friday schedule here, like a lot of competitive games. The Mavericks go into Red Deer to take on the Rampage. That's game number 3. And then Saturday, June 1st, Chill at the Rampage. And Sunday, June 2nd, the Rebels go to Beaumont to take on the Outlaws. So once again, that's Rebels at Crude, Mountaineers at Chill, Mavericks at Rampage, Chill at Rampage, Rebels at Outlaws. And again, all you got to do is pick each game straight up and then star your most confident pick. And we will figure things out on how it's going to work, whether it's a weekly prize. The goal is a weekly prize. If that can't be done this year, then it'll be an end-of-season prize after everybody's scores are tallied up. And that should do it for that segment. Wanted to introduce that to everyone. If you have any questions or concerns, or want to know or need a reminder of how it works, just reach out and we can help you with that. But that will be the weekly pick segment on the Junior Beast podcast. And with that, I want to slowly or quickly transition into a power ranking here. We'll go from 5 to 1. And this week, really, I think over the last 10, 14 days or so, the cream of the crop has really risen. I think the top of the league is pretty clear right now. But these last couple of spots inside the top 5 were tough. But this is what I'm going to go with for now. At number 5, I'm going to go with the Queen City Kings. I think that having to go on the road like they did and play 3 straight games in a very small amount of time and a very with quick turnarounds and being in different cities to do those, I think that was impressive. They improve upon their record, and they sit comfortably up at the top of the East. They're at number 5. Number 4, and this is a power ranking, so keep this in mind. This isn't about records. This is who would I pick or who would I take against a few of the other teams, maybe within that realm or within that portion of the league in a 7-game series, basically. And so at number 4, I'm taking Red Deer. They should have won that game on Sunday. They took the play to the Warriors. They did a lot of really nice things. And they didn't quit when it would have been easy to do so. I think they were down 7-3 and 9-5 midway through that game. And just kept coming back and ended up forcing overtime. And the championship pedigree and the will of the Warriors won out there, but so they deserve credit as well. But I think Red Deer's a damn good team, and I think they're dangerous. They're at number 4. Number 3, the Edmonton Warriors, 2 big wins over the weekend when they easily could have lost. I thought that they had some guys really step up for them, like that's not easy. What a kid like what Blake Cameron did. He, as a D guy, he's played mostly defense in his short junior career so far. He's a rookie. He scores a couple of big goals for them. Kyler Andrews scores, guys like that. So, the rookie Regan Carey with an overtime winner stepping up for them. They're at number 3. Number 2, the Silver Tips. These top 2 are pretty easy. Like the Silver Tips at what are they, like 8-1 now?
8-1.
They're balanced attack. They got McDonough and net to sort of thwart any mistakes they might make. I got them at 2, and then at 1, I don't think this is even arguable. The Calgary Shamrocks, and it's looking like, I think right now, as we sit here, Keenen, knowing what's going on with the junior A team and the guys that the Warriors are losing here, I think it's reasonable to say that Calgary Shamrocks deserve to be in the number 1 spot. And I think right now, as we sit here, they're the favorite to win Alberta. You got anything to add there?
I would happen to agree with you, Mo. I think your top 5 is pretty good. I mean, I don't think I would change too much. I think the Shamrocks definitely deserve that top spot. I mean, 8-0. You're just absolutely dominating, and I don't really see it coming to an end anytime soon, but weirder things have happened, and the Silvertips is an unfortunate loss, but I mean only by 1 goal, definitely there, and honestly I could probably see that as the potential final in the Larry Bishop. Looking forward to Week 6 on Crowlax TV. We've got 8-game slate for you on Friday night. The Senior Rebels visiting the Senior Outlaws. That game 7 p.m. Ken Nickel Regional Rec Center. And the other Outlaws, the Junior Outlaws, visiting the Warriors at 8 p.m. at Bill Hunter. And as well at the same time as that, the Junior Rebels are visiting the Crude at Jerome Aginla Arena. Saturday, 2 games coming at you, both from down south. The Saskatchewan SWAT visiting the Calgary Shamrocks, and the Mountain View Mavericks visiting the Silvertips. SWAT at Shamrocks, 4 p.m. at Stupapard, and the Mavericks and Silvertips at game 7 p.m. at Plainsman. Sunday, 3 games. The Blizz visiting the Shamrocks, 11 a.m. at Stupapard Arena. Mounties visiting the Silvertips, 5 p.m. at Plainsman. And to round out our 8-game slate, the Rebels visiting the Outlaws, 5:30 p.m. at Ken Nickel. Well, for my co-host Muhammad, my name is Keenan. Thank you so much for tuning into the Junior Beast this week, and we will see you next week. Thank you again for tuning in.